Bob has a hand up.
Okay, Bob, go for it.
Hi, good morning, Janet, Stephen, Sonia. Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
All right. Hey, question about these early shoots of daffodils and other bulbs. The general rule is when those things emerge and they're a few inches tall, you give them some organic fertilizer, let's say. But when it's so early like this, are the rules changed and we just leave it alone for now?
It's the studies that they did in I think it was North Carolina. One of the extension, there's two extension universities in North Carolina, and one of the extension universities did a study and found that the most important time for the longevity, for the perennialization of bulbs, was to fertilize them as they came up. But they weren't using organic fertilizer; they were using salt-based fertilizer.
Yeah.
Organic fertilizer is not going to be immediately available.
It might not be available till after they've stopped growing the leaves.
Yeah, you can't. But if you're putting it on regularly, then you're stoking your soil and it's there all the time.
And if you
so
put
as soon as
in the fall.
Right. So as soon as the soil gets warm enough for the microbes to start working in it, because once the bacteria start working in the soil, things cook real quickly. So I would go ahead and fertilize them, but if you can find where they were under the snow now.
Yeah.
Oh, right. I have some blood meal in the garage, but yes, I agree. They're about maybe 3 or 4 inches tall. And I thought, well, should I wait? Because that's this false start, if you will. No harm though in putting some blood meal on them or something.
No harm. And really not a false start.
It's not a false start.
They took advantage of the break in the weather, and while the leaves were green and in the sun, they were photosynthesizing and building bulbs. So
now hopefully we won't get any 20-degree nights once they get up a little bit more, but
yeah, we shall see how
that's
that works
weather.
out.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
So we will, for the sake of anyone who's here who has not been here before, we're asking people to keep your microphones and your cameras off. And you can chat, as you can talk by raising your hand, as Bob just did, or you can use the chat. How pretty it is at the turn of the seasons. March came in as such a lamb the first day of March, and then really covered everything.
Yeah.
So if there are any questions that you've got burning, things that you're working on right now or wondering about, go ahead and we can talk about them. We're, Steve and I, celebrating our 47th anniversary. Well, we celebrated our 47th wedding anniversary, but we're celebrating the 47th anniversary of the worst ice storm in our personal history. And actually, it was a terrible ice storm in Michigan. It did not make the USDA Weather Service list of great storms. The March 1st storm in Wisconsin did make it. It only put 100,000 people out of power, but it had 5-inch coating of ice on things.
5-inch.
Where ours came March 4th, and we got 3 inches of ice, and it knocked out 700,000 people, and we were out for an entire week.
Yeah.
I was at the time working for the telephone company, installing and fixing wires for phones. And on the day that the ice started forming on the trees, I was standing on a pole, what's called a clearance pole that just brings the wire from the street a long way back on a lot. So there's just my wire is attached to this pole, and the ice is hanging on it and hanging down. And I've got to cut the wire because I've determined that there's a break in the wire in this place and I need to fix it. And I'm standing there with my cutters on the wire, looking at the trees on the far side of the lot that are waving back and forth with all their ice, and they're tinkling and they're looking beautiful. And I'm watching them. And while I'm watching them and thinking about how heavy this wire is, one of the trees just keeps on leaning and falls right down, crashes to the ground with a lot of icicles. And I realized I should not cut this wire. If I cut this wire and all the weight of all that ice on this wire goes off, this pole could boomerang me right out of here. So I climbed down and went out to a bee box and called into the office, where they said, "Where are you? We've been trying to get everybody to come back in." I said, I didn't know. It was an interesting thing to be on that end of the ice storm, where we were fixing wires and stuff for the whole week, working as many hours as we wanted to work. Not that after 3 or 4 days we wanted to work those hours.
We have Sue is asking a question. I think many people are asking, and I'm assuming you might get to in the main program, but She says, my 4 arborvitae are really leaning with some branches bending almost to the ground. I'm assuming I should just leave them for now.
For right now, unless you can scrape the snow off without scraping down, leave them be, and they can come right back upright again. They can come, you can get 6-inch trees laying on the ground and come back upright again. But this snow is so sticky and heavy that I have not gone out and tried to take it off of any of the branches for 2 reasons. One, branches are still falling from higher up in the trees all over in our yard, and I'm not willing to get conked on the head by a 6-inch branch coming down. But also, when you try to get the snow just packs and holds on to things, I'm praying for it to get a little bit warmer. But if you can rake some of it off, do that. Or prop up the branches.
Yeah, Robin's saying they're bumping theirs from the bottom.
Yeah. Lift up, put a step ladder or a chair underneath to take some of the weight, and then see if you can get some of the snow off.
Just be careful. The springy wood like that can really whip it once that weight gets off of it.
Okay, well, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started.